Hi everyone, welcome to Mini Scroll, the daily internet culture podcast bringing you the biggest stories from social media, the creator economy, and the digital space every Monday through Thursday and sometimes Fridays. I'm your host, Lauren Meisner, the founder of the youth digital media brand, Centennial World. Welcome back to Mini Scroll, everyone. Reminder to please sign up to our newsletter. We are relaunching it this Friday with our first edition of Hit Follow. We've had so many signups since I talked about it yesterday. I'm so excited. It's going to be a lot more interactive, like I mentioned, and it's just going to be honestly, way more value, I think, than what we currently do. So please sign up if you guys want to support and participate. Okay, let's just get into the stories for today. So the first story that I have for you guys is Molly May is facing backlash for a lack of relatability while sharing her motherhood journey. Social media is coming for UK influencer Molly May over recent vlogs that she's posted where she shares her motherhood journey. Molly has a 2-year-old daughter named Bambi with boxer and Love Island star Tommy Fury. So yes, there seems to be one main vlog that Molly has posted in which it seems like she really is not enjoying motherhood.
We're trying so hard to stay positive and have a really nice day, but I feel like I need to keep my camera running all day so you guys actually just see. Every single thing is a huge problem. Scream. Can't even get socks and shoes on or just anything. I don't care who tells me I'm out of touch with reality or all this stuff that's going on on TikTok at the minute about I don't care, I'm not gonna not talk about it. I'm just not gonna not talk about it. We're at a little local farm near us and Zoe and Bambi have just gone in just to leave me to just calm down for a minute.
And that's unrelatable because she has everything, right? In our eyes, she has money, she works for herself, so she can kind of work around Bambi's schedule. She has a very beautiful aesthetic life. They go on all of these luxurious vacations together as a family. So it feels out of touch that Molly complains so much about Bambi and her motherhood journey when she has so much. I've also seen people say that she might be struggling because she is trying too hard to gentle parent. She's leaning too hard into gentle parenting. I'm not a parent, so I'm not across the techniques. I'm not going to make a judgment on anyone's parenting or techniques, but that is also one of the pieces of feedback. So, okay, to me, I feel like Molly's daughter is 2. I don't know. I personally hear the toddler years are really tough. And from what we know, it does appear like Molly is very often a solo parent. I know she has a nanny, but when it comes to the family unit and her and Tommy together, it seems like she is parenting by herself most of the time because of Tommy's career, also kind of maybe his partying and cheating. But in general, he's away a lot for work and partying and cheating. But I feel like from the perspective of us wanting influencers to be authentic and share their real lives with us, and that's what Molly is, right? She is a vlogger, she is a YouTuber, she is an influencer. I see all of this as her just being open about her experience and how hard she is finding parenting as an activity itself. In my opinion, I think the way she's talked about motherhood and parenting feels like one of the most relatable parts about her. It echoes so much of what we hear in general from mothers all around the world. But yeah, I cannot stress enough the videos, clipping this vlog, millions of views, millions of comments, this is going so nuts. So if you're a parent, I'm really curious to hear your perspective on this, on how you feel about this, if you think the criticism is valid, if you think it's relatable for her to share things, if you think it's out of touch, all of that. I'm interested to hear your perspective. Because from an outsider's perspective, despite all her privilege, I do see this as actually relatable content. I don't see this as unrelatable, but I imagine when you're in it, when you're a parent yourself and you're consuming this, you might feel differently. All right, the next story that I have for you guys, okay, we need to talk about the Sydney Sweeney American Eagle campaign and its backlash. There's just so much to unpack here. I'm not even, honestly, probably going to even scratch the surface, I feel. We could do a 5-hour deep dive into this campaign and what it means and what it represents and all the different ties. So I am sure there are going to be points that I miss here. This is going to be, of course, a mini exploration into this story. But Sydney Sweeney, she is the star of the new American Eagle campaign. And the backlash around this campaign has been intense. So the ad shows Sydney auditioning for the commercial, filming herself with a camcorder, working on a vintage car, among other things. The visuals are all very Terry Richardson coded, if you know what I mean. And if you know what I mean, then you know what a red flag that is. But the campaign's tagline is Sydney Sweeney has good genes. And a lot of the imagery is like zoom ins and close ups of her body and like pans all across her body. The vibes, I don't know, like regardless of, I'm obviously going to get into like the messaging and stuff, but like regardless of all of that, the vibes are just like weird. They're like uncomfortable, okay? So the overarching criticism is that this whole campaign plays into popular white supremacist and eugenicist tropes. Obviously, Sydney Sweeney has good genes is a play on genes, like genes, your genealogy, and then genes like denim. And they're not even trying to make that some like hidden message, okay? Like there's one part of the campaign where she's painting over a billboard of herself and it literally says Sydney Sweeney has good genes, like GENES. So this has not landed well. People are like, what the fuck is this? And I don't care. I honestly, it does not matter, in my opinion, how it was meant to land. Like if American Eagle planned it like this, if Sydney Sweeney understood how this was going to land, it doesn't really matter. American Eagle is a brand that is literally about celebrating and endorsing Americana culture, and having a brand where that is like the entire premise, saying that this is the image of the ideal American woman, like the woman with ideal American quote unquote genes, white, blonde, blue eyes, big boobs. Like that is being presented to us at a time when everything is being filtered through the lens of the rise of conservatism and the threat of authoritarianism in the US. This isn't a dig at Sydney Sweeney. I'm sure we're gonna get some trolls being like, you're just jealous. Yeah, of course I am jealous. Of course I am jealous of Sydney Sweeney and her hot body and her giant tits and her like gorgeous face, okay? That is not the criticism here. The people who are looking at this and critiquing it, like being jealous of what she looks like or wishing you looked like her, has nothing to do with people criticizing this. And I do think Sydney Sweeney is one of those people who has become somebody that is like constantly criticized for no matter what she does. I think there's reason for that. I think she keeps making kind of stupid decisions with her career and like how she positions herself. I understand that, but this campaign specifically, like there are so many things wrong with it, and it goes well beyond just people being like, well, I hate Sydney Sweeney because. You cannot put out art or music or a campaign like this without looking at the cultural context in which that art or music or campaign was made, where it will land, how it's published, all of that. And aside from like the cultural and political climate that this ad was released in, I think we also need to look at who is in the ad and who is behind the ad. So like I said, American Eagle is a very like specific type of brand with a very specific message in general, like overarching message in general to be releasing this ad. But then choosing Sydney Sweeney specifically and putting her in this position to say this script and, you know, to kind of be positioned this way, framed this way, was a choice because it's not her fault, but Sydney Sweeney has absolutely been embraced, like really embraced by the far right. And I do think that cultural context should be considered by brands and advertisers in terms of how they position their spokesperson. Because Sydney's image does not exist in a vacuum, and her public persona is actually highly political at the moment. So it's important to consider what message is being sent when you put her in a campaign and have her say a certain script or deliver a certain message for you. Again, I'm not saying Sydney Sweeney herself is going out there and, you know, spouting like far right rhetoric. It's just the fact that like who she is as a person, her image, her public persona, her likeness has been embraced by that corner of the political spectrum. And you need to think about that if you're a brand, you know, when you are putting that person in your campaign. I'm not saying don't put her in your campaign because of that, because again, that's not necessarily her fault. But if you're going to choose her, then what you are asking her to do in that campaign and the script she's saying and all of that, it needs to have all of that context in mind. Shane O'Neill for the Washington Post said this: "The most provocative part of the campaign is when she's talking about offspring and genes. But Sweeney also has softer copy in the press release. She says of American Eagle, they have literally been there with me through every version of myself. There's a message about mutable identity there. And that could be extended into a vision of America as a place where you're not bound by who you are at birth. But they went the full opposite of that. Other major issues with this campaign, that it seems to be very directly promoting the idea that Sydney Sweeney's body type, again, petite with big boobs, is the ideal. It's really like, oh, we could tell that things were going backwards with body positivity, but like, this is American Eagle really telling us like, yeah, no, like, we are. Like, we're going back to the 90s, okay? People are also criticizing it for using the male gaze to sell women's jeans. And I don't know, maybe this will work, but I don't personally think it's good marketing. A lot of people online have said they don't feel like it's good marketing. It feels lazy, it feels dated, and almost kind of like offensive to the consumer. The other major issue I've seen discussed is that this campaign highlights the brand's problem with blue washing. So this is from sustainability creator John Pabin on LinkedIn. He wrote, with the abhorrent American Eagle Outfitters advert making the rounds, now's a great time to talk about blue washing. While not as widely known as its big cousin greenwashing, blue washing can often be just as insidious. This is when a company overclaims on its social good credentials. For American Eagle, this instance of blue washing is especially astounding. That's because one of the company's key philanthropic initiatives is the Airy Real Foundation. Launched in 2022, the foundation aims to, quote, build confidence in women and foster an inclusive community to make the world a better place for all. They support causes around disordered eating, self-esteem, and body image. There's also the AE Foundation with a special focus on youth mental health. To claim support of these worthwhile endeavors while pushing a campaign that exacerbates these very problems is the very definition of blue washing. Don't even get me started on the barely veiled eugenic undertones. And this note is important when you consider that the ad, which is hypersexual, also aims to raise money for the domestic violence nonprofit Crisis Text Line. Okay, so finally, I wanted to give a response to people that are like, it's not that deep, like Sydney Sweeney shouldn't be getting this backlash, like she was just doing a job, she's just getting her bag. I personally think that Sydney Sweeney is often very infantilized. I think we see this like pretty white girl and our kind of gut reaction is to be like, oh my God, no, like she supports her family. She just needs money. She doesn't know what she's doing. Poor thing. She is a full adult woman with money, fame, power, a team around her, okay, helping her make these decisions. And she keeps making very questionable decisions. And I get it. Like, she is in her bag. Like, she is out here hustling. She is making as much money as she possibly can in this moment while she is so famous. And okay, like that is fine. But I think we need to stop taking away her agency and assuming that she's not part of making these decisions as well. Okay, and the last story that I have for you guys is that Trisha Paytas has addressed questions around her fertility. So since Trisha Paytas gave birth to her third child, Aquaman Moses, there have been a lot of people online, including her ex-Frenemies co-host Ethan Klein, who have had a lot to say about her fertility. So Trisha has spoken openly for years on her platforms about how she has suffered from infertility and would probably not be able to conceive naturally. Obviously, she then ended up having 3 children very close together. So now there is kind of this narrative forming online that she lied about having fertility issues for online sympathy and clout. And obviously, Trisha has lied about many things over the course of her career, so people feel like, well, that would make sense. You know, when she started talking about this was in the middle of her being like a troll and like lying about just like so much stuff online. So Trisha has addressed these allegations now in a new YouTube video explaining that she got her tubes cleared out, and that is what led to her being able to conceive.
And I was infertile for literally like probably 14 years. I think 22 is when I actively was like trying to get pregnant. I have no shame in these videos, okay? I know there's a lot of reasons for people to shame me or judge me. I had chlamydia that I left twice, that I left. It was basically undiagnosed for like a year. So it sat in my body, it scarred up my tubes. It was really bad. I had 2 different, I guess ultrasounds, I guess that's what it is, that are like, you know, your tubes are really scarred. It's actually like gonna be hard for you to have a baby. Once I got into like different relationships where I was like, you know, maybe I want a baby and all stuff like that, they're just like, you know, Like you could do, that's when I first found out about the HSG test. I was like 31, 30 or something like that. And they're like, yeah, your tubes are really scarred. When I was younger, the HSG test is a test that like shoots like liquid through your uterine. I don't know, something like that. It's a test for infertility, but also like clears out your tubes. 95% of women like get pregnant out of it. Like, anyways, that's how I got pregnant with my first two.
I think there's some misunderstanding here between the difference in being infertile and being sterile. Like, infertility does not mean that you will never conceive. She was dealing with infertility until she got her tubes cleared, which essentially treated that infertility and made it much easier for her to conceive. And I think this just points to a bigger issue around Trisha's reputation and her career in general. Even though she has had a bit of like a renaissance, you know, her reputation will forever be that she started her internet career for years as like a troll, and like I said, just like lying about a lot of stuff or like embellishing a lot of stuff. And that will follow her now for years, even into conversations that are sensitive, like fertility, and kind of much bigger than, you know, her online career, like her family, like all of that's getting kind of brought into this conversation. But unfortunately, that is like the consequence of those actions. And she's been open about how she regrets those years and how she acted online and stuff. But yes, that, in my opinion, is like what we're seeing here. All right, guys. Well, that's it for Mini Scroll today. Thank you so much for listening. I love you guys. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Subscribe to our new newsletter. Annabelle will talk to you guys tomorrow, and then I will talk to you on Thursday. Bye.